Hello, my loves. I'm Rebecca, and this is me recording my full moon report for Pillars of the Moon. Yeah. So before we start going into the full moon chart, I just wanted to show you the website that I use to find out the correct astronomical times for the turning of the wheel. So the exact celestial time of Samhain is the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. So obviously, because the Gregorian calendar is all higgledy-piggledy, each year it is slightly different. And sometimes we have a leap year in as well. So it throws things out. So it's not always on the 31st of October. So, you know, there's people out there who like to work out the exact date like I do. So I'm going to share the screen with you all so you can see what I mean. So this website is called archaeoastronomy.com. Archeo, something like that. Anyway, so I think this is great. I've been using this all year. And so you can see here Samhain. It's the 7th of November in my time zone, which is UTC or Western Europe, 10:36 in the morning on the 7th. So yeah, so the 7th will be on Monday, tomorrow. So that is our exact celestial time of Samhain. So I feel like, considering that that is the day before our lunar eclipse full moon, which will be on the 8th on Tuesday, it's a really potent energy, and it's really powerful to realign with that. I feel realign with the actual real precise moment of Samhain, because we're always doing rituals and making offerings. At Samhain, it's particularly about letting go of the old and planting seeds of the new. So ways that we can do that is by lighting the Samhain fire. It's interesting how we have fireworks night around this time as well, so I can see the synergy between all of the celebrations and how, when we're actually, making those fires, those bonfires for bonfire night, to actually say, okay, in this fire, I'm going to take things that I want to burn, that I no longer need, that I'm ready to let go of. And that doesn't have to be a physical thing, although it can be. I remember when I left one of my old jobs, I burnt all my uniforms because it felt a really powerful thing to do. And that was around an eclipse as well. So yeah, and in that you can write down words of things that you are ready to let go of and release, and then you can plant seeds for the new year as well. So in the death there is always the birth, so there's the ending and there's the beginning. And so yeah, this is a time of that, and it's a whole period of time. But the exact point between the winter solstice and the autumn equinox is on the 7th, on Monday, which is tomorrow. So I just wanted to share that all with you, because that is when the energy is the most potent. Could be doing things like that. It's also a great time to be putting bulbs in. It's to plant for the spring. So, and if you think about that in a metaphysical way, it's like we're planting the seeds now to go through the winter months to be born in the spring. So all of the stuff, all of the bulbs and the seeds that we're putting in now, it could be ideas, could be, daffodils, tulips. So whatever it is, it takes the winter time, to grow, gestate within, just like a baby. The sperm goes in and then it takes time for the baby to grow inside before it can come out into the outer world, which is, the Aries energy, or the Pisces Aries cusp. So I wanted to talk a bit about that today as well. So I'm going to share the screen again with you, because I'm going to take you into the live sky. This is with Stellarium Web, which is just an online program to see the live sky. So the full moon lunar eclipse will be on the 8th of November 2022 at 10:59 AM in the GMT time zone. So I'm just going to zoom in on the sky here for you all. So you can see this is our moon, and this is the planet Uranus, and you can see the color of it. I'll zoom right in. It's like a dark reddy color. So zooming back out again, we can see that we have the constellation Aries here. And I also wanted to mention the constellation Cetus, which is underneath. So the red line is the ecliptic line, or the path of the sun. So where we get our zodiacal constellations from is, connected to the ecliptic line and the planets that the constellations or the stars that the planets and the sun, moon go along. So the thing is that I wanted to mention about this full moon, because you can see Pisces along here, it goes right over the ecliptic line, but Aries is above and below is Cetus. So, the energy of this full moon, it feels like, it's right in the middle of the two. And so, we would say it's in constellation Aries, but actually I really feel like it's worthy taking into account the energy of Cetus, because it's just, so I actually would say it's quite close to Lambda Cetus, which is here, and it's, probably maybe even a bit closer than it is to any of the Aries stars, because Hamal here is the Alpha Aries, Hamal, and yeah, so I mean, there's not much in it, is there really? So when you're looking at the live sky, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for the constellations as they actually are in the sky. And so really the moon isn't going through either of these constellations, or you could say it's going through both of them, depending on which way you look at it. But then when I was looking at this, I also noticed another thing that is also worth taking into consideration. So when we're thinking of it as a journey, so we're coming through the waters of Pisces, Pisces to me is very much about collective consciousness and the ocean of awareness. It's like everything, and it's like the babies come from the waters. So, children are born from the womb, from the waters of the womb, and they come out into the physical. So this is where the Aries energy is, it's that fire of being born. And when you are giving birth, there's a moment before you give birth when you feel that ring of fire. And it is a ring of fire. And it's like, that is the crown. If you're birthing in a crown first position, it's birthing through the birth canal, so it's coming out into this world. And so when I was looking at this earlier, I was thinking about birth and Pisces being like the child in the womb. And so the Aries energy combined with the Cetus energy, if you put the two constellations together, these two stars here look like a gate, a gate into a new beginning. And we often think of Aries being like that springtime energy, or that new life, or it's coming out into the world, so it feels like to me actually that this constellation going into where this full moon will be is like a birthing energy. So that's just what I received, so I love to share the things that come through, and in hope that you may receive some wisdom from them too. But also wanting to share that Alpha Aries, or Hamal, and Menka, which they're both very bright stars in these constellations. I think Hamal is Alpha Aries, and Menka, I'm not sure if it's the brightest star in Cetus, it might be. But anyway, both of these stars, they're connected to quite difficult experiences. I've been researching into this, and that they can represent ill health or challenges, really deep things coming up from the subconscious. When you're thinking about the Cetus constellation, this is connected to the whale, or some people refer to it as the sea monster. I prefer to see it as the whale, like a big beluga whale with the big head. And that actually what is coming up from the subconscious, may be really unexpected and deep. So we've got Moon and Uranus here. Uranus can bring complete breakthroughs, really unexpected things happening. We might find that, with the Aries and Menkar, Hamal and Menkar stars being activated as well, there could be a tendency to be quite like lots of rage coming up, maybe even like acting kind of a bit too like, really reacting to things, being quite reactive, maybe even violent, could be really strong emotions coming through, so, but it's also, like I say, the birthing energy. So when we think about it, where we're at, in this full moon and in the Samhain energy that we're in, it feels like there is something in us in this Samhain portal that is dying and it wants to die. And there's also a part of us that in that journey is then being reborn. It's like the apple that I spoke about in my new moon video, it's like the seeds, are within the apple, but all of the outside of the apple has to be broken down. And actually that becomes good compost and good energy to go back into the soil to keep the ecosystem going, so but the seeds, within, that is part of the whole process. So where there is death, there is life. And I really feel that, around this full moon, it's like there's things like it feels like the death is like there's parts of us, maybe it could be parts of our psyche, parts of our ego, our belief systems. It feels like it's like this huge release or pressure to change something. And it might be in our home, it might be in our inner world. I've definitely felt a lot, coming up through this cycle around my belief patterns. And I feel the Neptune and Jupiter combination really strongly as well at the minute. So Jupiter and Neptune are just over here in Pisces, and they're coming quite close together now. So you can see here, this is Neptune, Jupiter. So they're over at the beginning of Pisces. So these two are really having a big impact, and they actually will come closer and closer together. I can't remember the exact date that they come together. I'll have to look it up for you all. But their energy is like they're both incredibly spiritual, and they're both could bring like a whole new perspective to us in terms of spirituality and our beliefs. And it's an opportunity to this full moon, I feel, especially to really tend to those deep places in us, those things that are churning and calling out for us to be, looking at them. And something's trying to get our attention, this whole cycle. And this full moon really feels like a culmination of all of this energy. And it's a chance to, maybe on Monday, Tuesday this week, to do some kind of ceremony for ourselves to maybe bury some stuff in the ground, some seeds and some intentions, but also release some things as well. And so maybe we could do like 5 things that we're releasing and 5 things that we're planting, and setting that intention into the earth and, allowing the winter to cocoon those intentions and those ideas and those dreams, and allowing the winter to break down all that we're ready to let go of. And then come the springtime, when we get to March, April next year, there will be a whole new rebirth as well, so there's a whole journey, and it really is like this winter time, coming autumn into winter, it's an inner journey. And I can't say that enough. There is so much value from turning within, from slowing down into listening to all of these inner conversations, and to really listen to all of the people that come into our life, all of the scenarios that knock us off center, and how we can recenter ourselves and be like, the Buddha in the middle of the pandemonium that is, or the chaos that is around us, and how we can find that center. And, talking about centering and finding balance, the sun is in Libra now, so I'm just going to move over to the sun. You can see at the time of the lunar eclipse full moon, the sun and Mercury are exactly the same. You can't even see Mercury here because he's right on the sun. So the sun and Mercury are right here, in Libra, and Venus is here too. And also the south node. So the north node is over where the full moon is with Uranus, and the south node is over with the sun, Venus, and Mercury. So there is a lot that is being called from the south node, from the past, our past lives, our past karma, our past incarnations, things that, maybe we haven't managed to resolve in past lifetimes. Now it's like there's a real opportunity, to meet with these things, and to attend to these things. And how do we come in peace? How do we find the peace? And this is the Libran energy. So when we've come through the end of Virgo here, we've found the discernment, we've harvested all of the things that we wanted to harvest. And then we get to the gates of Libra, and it's like we come in peace, and we're actually coming into the Libran energy with discernment, knowing, who am I? Who am I not? What am I here to do? What am I not here to do? What am I ready to let go of? And then when we come into the Libra time of Libra, we are really weighing our heart, and coming into love, returning to love, and finding that center, so that all of the chaos, can find that love, bringing that love into the chaos, and it balances it. And this is the Libran energy, the Libra and Aries energy. It's like, because the Aries energy of the fire and the birth, it can feel so like overwhelming, and so the Libran energy is like, it's like the oxytocin. Squirt in some oxytocin, what brings you a feeling of love, maybe smelling rose essences, or things that you really love, really collecting together all of these things that are most valuable to you, to us, like Venus is here, and communicating that love, communicating that beauty and that peace, being the voice for peace. So we may find during this time of the full moon that things around us may be in chaos. The world may be in chaos. So, we are being called here, Venus and Mercury and the Sun over in Libra are really an anchor point, and to recenter in that peace. I just keep saying that, it feels so important, that it's like when we get to the gates of Mart, Egyptian goddess Mart, or Libra, and we are weighing, ourselves, it's in preparation, because we're going into the underworld, we're going into the deepest parts of the winter, for us in the Northern Hemisphere. We're going to meet with Scorpio and Ophiuchus and go through the galactic center of Sagittarius, so this is all coming. So all of the stuff that's coming up now is, all of the letting go, it really is around balance. Maybe there's too much of something or not enough of something else. So we need to call in more of something and let go of something, so there's a whole balancing going on here. And what will bring me into a place of peace, so that I can stay in that oxytocin and that love, even if there's chaos around me, and so even if there is chaos, there's something that wants to be born, and there's this push, and there may be unexpected twists and turns and things that we didn't see coming with Uranus there, but there is also with the Venus and Sun and Libran energy, there's a chance to find that peace and that balance in all of it, and know that that is the greatest intention here that I feel. So there is a lot going on just in these things, that I've just shown you. Hello. So I'm just going to share another screen for you, the actual chart. So I'm hoping you can all see that. So we have over here, we have the moon and Uranus, 16 and 17 degrees, Aries, 14 degrees is the North Node. As many of you know, the North Node is like the head of the dragon, and actually this full moon is at the head of the sea dragon or the sea whale, Cetus, so it's very aligned, I would say. Obviously, this particular North Node, full moon, and Uranus conjunction. And like I was saying, we are giving birth to something, and in doing that, letting go of something as well. And so you can see that obviously Uranus is square to Saturn and T-squaring the nodes. So Saturn and the nodes have been T-squaring for some time. So we may find that the stuff that is moving through us is to do with the structures and systems that we're part of internally and externally. And, with Venus and Libra, could be a lot to do with our relationships, could be to do with codependency, the way that we communicate in our relationships. Mercury's there. And so Uranus and the North Node and the Moon, it's like moving into a place of breaking free of personal power, independence, maybe coming to a place that we can resource ourselves, rather than always leaning on someone else to support us, but breaking free into a new cycle of independence and self-sufficiency even, So yeah, and there's a beautiful grand trine I was talking about before, the energy of Jupiter and Neptune, which is really strong at the moment. You can see this big triangle that's going up to Pallas Athena over in Gemini, and the Sun, Venus, Mercury, South Node in Libra. So you can feel the energy of this, it's like this trine it feels very creative, very spiritual. It could be quite emotional as well. I can see like this would be a really great time for art, for writing songs, making paintings, for doing poetry, writing. This is a very creative energy, and we may find actually, like I was sharing about stuff that's letting go, we may find it really powerful to use our art to express, the voice of Mercury and the Sun here together and Venus. It's so creative. So we may, if we're very tapped into our creativity and our gifts right now, we could use these energies to express what we're releasing, what we're feeling, what is dying in us, what is being reborn. There could be some really great art coming out of all of these energies. And you don't have to be a Picasso to make a great art piece, because it's individual to you. And in doing the art and the creative things, it takes us into our creative mind and our subconscious, and things could be shown to us through that as well. So even if like I say, you're not a Picasso, but you just get some colors and some paper and just and who knows what might come out. And then if it's something that you want to release, you can maybe burn it at the end. Could be a powerful way to use these energies. Yeah. And also, Black Moon Lilith is over in Cancer. She is in square to the South Node. So there's a bit of tension there with things that we fear around the home, around codependency, around perhaps like fear of losing someone or losing something. So she is you know, from the in square to the south node, it could be fear around things, letting go of things of the past, you know, things that have been so ingrained in who we are. You know, we've been dragging these ideas up a hill that aren't even ours for maybe thousands of years. And so now I'm saying put it down. It's like, no, but I really like this baggage. I've been carrying it for such a long time. I've become quite fond of it. And we don't know who we are when we let go of that past part of ourselves, you know, because we can become quite identified with the pain, identified with the trauma, and to say to put it down is like, but then who am I without it? You know, so it's a whole journey, you know, of letting go, and it's not an easy journey. It could be, you know, quite a lot of grief and rage and sadness, you know, just feeling like coming through us. But, you know, it feels also like so much with Uranus and the moon and the North Node. It's like our destiny really wants us to transform and break free from something. And that will be very personal depending on, you know, where we're at in our own chart and what it could mean for us. So maybe looking at your own chart, you know, seeing what you might have in Aries, what you might have in Libra, you know, where your Uranus is. You know, there's lots of things you could look at, you know, and if you would like any more advice on it, you know, you're welcome to message me about it. So I can give an example. You know, I have Mars in Aries, so that could be activated for me at this full moon. You know, I have Lilith in Cancer, so that could also be activated. So I feel like the astrology just gives me like a guide or a map, you know, to kind of, it's like a warning, this might come up, or there might be something coming up around this. And then when it does, I'm like, oh yeah. So interesting, really is. And our new moon obviously started in Virgo. So a lot of what was coming up for us, you know, I saw on my social media lots around the witch burnings, people grieving that, and different ancestral wounds. And it was very much connected to Magdalene and to Mary and Isis, even, you know, and the dethroning of the feminine, the dethroning of the goddess, you know, and the Christian church and the patriarchy, you know. So I saw so much of that, you know, bursting up through my social media. So it's interesting, isn't it, what the energies bring. But now we've moved into Libra, it feels different. You know, there feels like there is a opportunity for harmony. There's an opportunity for more balance. And, you know, with the more that we have the courage to put down this baggage now, the more space we will have for the next cycle. Because if we don't put it down, we're taking it through a whole new yearly cycle with us, you know. So, and then not so much stuff, new stuff will grow. So, yeah, it's a real art, you know, this journey of death and rebirth. And I work with in a birth workers circle, you know, we are with pregnant women, you know, through their journey from pregnancy into becoming a mother. And it is like so transformative. And what we speak about time after time is that the portal of birth and death is the same thing, you know. And I've spoke to people who have been with people when they've passed, and when I've described my birth experiences, and they've said, wow, that's what it felt like when I was at a death, you know, and how the energy is very similar. And so when I'm sharing around, you know, things are dying and things are being reborn, it's because it is the same portal, you know, and it's a very thin line. And when we are giving birth, you know, we are really in that, you know, energy. So this full moon, we are really in that energy, and we are, you know, that because with the energy of Aries and the fire and the, it could feel really quite intense and lots of rage coming up and things like that. And the fullness of this expression of this cycle, and like I said, around the new moon and everything coming up around the witch burnings and Christian church and all of the stuff around that, you know, it feels like the high point or the culmination of this is this full moon, which is coming up on Tuesday, you know. So we're doing, if we're bringing it all in, embracing it consciously and saying, okay, well, you know, I'm ready now to move through this and to start a new cycle and put some things down and bury them. You know, that's a very powerful place to be. Um, so yeah, I've definitely been feeling it for myself personally. You know, like there's been so much moving because my South Node was in Virgo, you know, so much of my past lives are connected to Isis and the priestess energy and working with the goddess and um, as a midwife and the herbalist and all these things that really resonate, you know. So much has been moving through me, and now this that we've moved into Libra, I can definitely feel a shift. It's like, oh, okay, now that was big. And now we're getting to the fullness of the cycle, the full moon, and I'm ready now. It's like, okay, we'll do some ceremonies, and I'm really aware of all the stuff that's been moving, so I can bring some love to it. And that is the real sweet spot, you know, when we can find love for all the experiences. And that's also not an easy thing to do, I know. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop sharing now. I think I'm going to stop talking now. And yeah, I hope that you all have a really transformative full moon. And I hope that we can find a way to stay in our center. I remembered yesterday, like this breath that goes from my womb up to my heart, up to my throat, and then back down again, or the heart womb river, you know, as my one of my teachers, Uma, talks of. And yeah, and I was just breathing through my central channel, and I was just feeling so centered, you know. So it may just be a practice like that, you know, breathing into our base, into our sacral chakra, and then bringing it up and into our heart. And then when we bring our breath from our heart, you know, all that we love up into our mind, and then we big exhale, we let go of anything, you know, that we don't need. And it's really quite a powerful thing to do. And I just remembered that yesterday and I did it and I felt so good. So yeah, hopefully you could find those gems and to find that center and that balance in all of these energies. Okay, my loves, I'll see you around the new moon and send you so much love and Samhain blessings for tomorrow. I love you lots.